Let's forget about the past, let's forget about today, let's talk about the future. Content is king. It always has been king.
Get started. Do something. Because no matter what you create, you are going to get a response back.
So let's dive into a little bit deeper into content, how to budget and how to manage your costs, right? So this is a very important thing that a lot of people are not recognizing, is that content is king. It always has been king. But today, you have so many different platforms and so many different forms of content, from context, visual, video. You have stories, people going live, from professionally filmed to straight cell phones.
Yep.
Right? So what do you recommend? What are you seeing as that works, right? Which is important. It doesn't matter what's being put out. What matters is, what are you seeing that works when it comes to content? What do you guys recommend as an agency to use for content, and on which platforms? How do customers best utilize content and marketing together?
Yeah, I think when we talk about content, we really have to focus in on video, right? Like, video content, I think, is far more engaging. And in a world that we live in where we have to stop somebody from scrolling, right? Like, video is what's going to get them to do that. And so when it comes to video, you can spend $1 million on a video. You can also go outside and shoot your video. And so with that wide range, it often confuses startup brands, young entrepreneurs, to kind of say, like, well, what should I do? And in my opinion, get started. Do something. Because no matter what you create, you are going to get a response back. Might not be the response you want, but those are the learning experiences that you can have. Having run videos where we've spent over $1 million, and having run videos where we've seen clients spend less than $1,000, both have been successful. Like, I haven't, there isn't like, hey, you have to spend 50K for this to be successful. But if you do decide to go with a really good creative company, and you're gonna spend 20, 40, 50, 60 grand, the thing that I would recommend is to build a long form. Right? Mm-hmm. Build something that's 4 or 5 minutes long. Right. Because you can take that 4 or 5 minute long video and break it down to less than a minute to put it in your newsfeed. Right. You can get a 15-second spot out of that to put in your vertical story ads. Right. You can still put the long form on YouTube where people are going to watch it for a longer period of time.
Absolutely.
And you can also put it on Facebook where you can cross your fingers and hope they watch it for a long period of time.
Also could live on your website, right? Informational.
You got it all, man. It's got to live on the website too, Cory.
Right.
Jeez.
Oh, you're on the marketing side, right? We're the
man.
Gatekeepers.
Mm-hmm.
Cory, talk to me a little bit about the stories and the advantage of using IG stories. Today seems to be the hot topic, an undiscovered territory, which is where entrepreneurs and brands can start taking advantage while it's still hot.
The secret to stories is the fact that it's only there for 24 hours. Right? It's the first thing that we navigate to every single time that we open that platform. And it's a different scroll. Like, it's not this motion, it's that motion, right? It's a little bit faster. And you got to think that, like, when you open up this platform and you press that little circle there at the top, like, you're initiating that. You're not being surprised by anything. Right. And so it's harder to upset a user when you're not surprising them and they made the choice to watch a set of story ads. I think the other thing that is unique to story ads, well, it's kind of a gift and a curse. Whereas, like, if you put something in the newsfeed, both on Facebook as well as Instagram, mm-hmm. is you have the ability to comment, share, and like, right? But if you put a story ad, you really only have a chance to share it.
Right.
And so with that happening, it's very hard to hide a story ad. It's very hard to give a story ad negative feedback. Mm. And so what that does to the algorithm is it says, wow, this is an excellent ad, over and over and over again, which usually lowers the CPM or usually spreads it a little bit farther. Mm-hmm. And because we watch so many story ads, you have more discovery opportunities. And so what Facebook notices is that, like, when a story is shared, right? Yeah. Or say somebody passes your story ad, but then goes back to it. Right? Like, those type of indicators tell Facebook and Instagram to say, hey, push this to more people. Right. More people want to see this. And
so I don't think a lot of people understand that the popularity of your story and your post actually triggers the algorithm to spread it further out. their systems and their AI algorithms understand that the more people express interest, the more important it becomes, and instantly starts to push it up, right? And gives it more exposure. The more people are skipping, the lower it drops it. So it's a completely different take on ranking, right? It's social ranking in this case, which actually you could also jump into your own insight, right? And you could see how many people actually skipped versus stayed, right? And which gives you initiative to change your content, right? This is why I think it's very important what you said. Just start creating certain content, test it, see how people are reacting to it. Look at the analytics, which is very important, which is you're a king of analytics. So, and the analytics will tell you, data will tell you if people are watching, if your content is interesting enough, or if they're skipping. And if they're skipping 24 hours up, the story is gone, you got a new start, you can try it again. Once you see the content that sticks, you could start pushing that more into other places of advertising.
And I think another thing that we left out is the fact that like there's so much functionality with story ads. Like I don't know if you've seen this recently, but now you can have multiple choice questions.
No, I didn't know that.
You have multiple choice questions now in story ads. But you also have the ability to poll, the ability to tag a product, the ability to ask a question. That's phenomenal. Like there's so much different things where you can get that engagement back. And if you remember how we kind of talked in the beginning about just like engagement, getting that feedback back on your product is so important. And so imagine if like we had that shoe brand, for instance, and like you had their shoes and like a competitor's shoes side by side. You say, which one do you want, right? You can see how that improves over time. Like you can really start to take two of your products and say, which one do you like best? That could help you understand, like from a new consumer perspective, what you want to really advertise with. So
this would be phenomenal for product launches, right? People launching products, whether it's retail, whether it's e-com, it doesn't matter, right? You can have the brand go basically real time, right? The site's going live, but publishing stories and real time showcasing and bringing in more audiences to see your products or see your brand. Let's forget about the past. Let's forget about today. Let's talk about the future.
Let's do it.
Where should brands be paying attention to? What platforms do you think will be moving up? And just in general, where should companies be creating their focus? And what's your view on just marketing in general for the future?
Yeah, the first thing I want to talk about is video. Like video couldn't be more important to any brand today, you know, especially as we sit here and recording video. But it's not just one type of video. It's all types. It's vertical, it's landscape, it's square, it's building for multiple platforms. And so you have to be much savvier with your video today, as well as in the future. Video is only going to grow at an exponential rate. And so I would make sure that video is core to whatever you do. And then I think from a platform perspective, I'm really looking at Instagram and YouTube to continue to take off for probably like the next 5 years. And I can't really see farther than that, unfortunately, because this stuff changes every single year. Like I remember talking about the most valuable impression being YouTube last year. Now I think it's story ads, like I really do. And so with things changing so fast, you have to think of like what's gonna go across all platforms. And I think that's video. And so I would make video core if we're thinking about the future. I would bet on Instagram and YouTube to probably hold the bulk of your budget from a paid standpoint and should get the bulk of your energy from an organic standpoint. And then I think if we're gonna talk about, you know, making a bet on the future, I would say the app for TikTok.
TikTok
TikTok
this
app.
has been the new talk of the town.
Yes, from an organic standpoint, I don't think there's anything more entertaining than that app. From an advertising standpoint, I don't think that they're there yet, but I think they're going the same route like many of the platforms before.
Yep.
Let me gather the audience. Once I've got all the audience, now we'll introduce the ads to satisfy our shareholders.
But they also, I mean, TikTok, speaking of them, they're integrated. They're integrated with Instagram, with Snapchat, with Facebook. So you could create content and start delivering it through TikTok as well. So when the advertising piece will be ready, you're already ready, right? Yeah. I agree.
And also the secret to TikTok, right, is video. Like giving people more tools with video, you know, I think is what TikTok did. And it allowed a lot of really new type of content to be created. And it's turning especially the younger Gen Z generation, into amazing content creators.
Yeah.
Like how we're gonna have a generation of people that are completely comfortable in front of the camera.
Yes.
Like it's gonna be a totally new sight. And I think, you know, another point to that generation, because, you know, they're growing up, they're entering the workforce now,
Yep.
you know, and they're gonna be leaders one day, is that this is the group of people that grew up with social media.
Right.
That's all that they know. And so that's all that they expect from
Their day
brands.
starts and ends with social.
It was handed to them. It was like, here guys, this is how this works.
Right.
And they were like, oh, okay. They didn't see it develop.
Correct.
And so therefore it's core to who they are. And whenever they,
Very valid point. Very valid point.
and so whenever they hear about anything new, it's like, well, let me go look at their Instagram. That's where their most beautiful images are. That's where I'm gonna see their product at the highest level. And so that's kind of like their first move whenever they hear about something new. And that's why I said staying core to Instagram, you know, because that's where I think people go to research the brand. But if they go to YouTube, they're really looking to watch content for a longer period of time. And that's why I think that video, but more importantly, that product demonstration type of video is so important for both of those platforms.
That's excellent, man. I'm with you 100%.
Awesome.
Listen, this has been an incredible journey. I thank you very much for making the trip. Really, really happy to, you know, to speak with you. This has been very informative. We are going to be speaking soon. We want to thank everyone for taking the time. Cory, special thank you to you. Thank you for coming out. It's been a real pleasure. And we're hoping to do this again.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you.